My name is Carrie, and I work with World Tree on their social media and their marketing. And joining me today is Doug Willmore, who is World Tree's CEO. So welcome, Doug.
Great. Hi. Thanks, Carrie. Hi, everybody. And boy, yesterday it seemed like there were technological difficulties all over. Slack was going crazy, and Zoom was, and GoToMeeting. I heard from people all over the country that was happening. I think we're using this more and more. And I think everybody's bearing with the explosion that's happening online.
Yes, more people at home, more people online,
No.
and we're stressing out the system that isn't ready for.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Move.
Yeah.
If you're joining us just now, let us know you're here. Give us a shout out on Facebook. We'll get back to you. If you have any questions throughout the live, make sure you post them. If we don't get to them right away, we will get back to them afterwards, so your question will get answered. And we just want to thank everyone for joining us. So Doug, first of all, thank you for being here. Thank you for making this happen. And you're not brand new to World Tree, but you are the World Tree's new CEO. So we want to get to know you a little bit, get to know your background, and there's some exciting things happening with World Tree right now, and so definitely want you to share a little bit about that as well. And so first of all, let's start out with who you are and what you do with World Tree.
Well, I'll have to make one person happy. That's my mom. I'd have to say my name is Douglas, but it's only Douglas to her. It's Doug to everybody else. But she'll be happy that I mentioned that. The other thing, before we get into this, I really want to speak to and mention the world that we're in right now, which is really for so many of us, so challenging, suffering going on. Really, I hate to say, I don't want to say unprecedented, because obviously we've been through all sorts of, humanity has been through all sorts of challenging times, but these days seem especially challenging. And, we at World Tree, we certainly see that and recognize it. We're grateful for the position we're in to actually, I think, be able to help and assist and contribute, and definitely want to acknowledge everybody out there who are in especially challenging times, whether it be economic challenges, health challenges, well-being challenges. Is really, really important to us. And I think I just want to make sure that we start out with really acknowledging the situation that we're in as a world, as a community, certainly us as a company as well. So to follow on with that, I've been the CEO of World Tree for 6 months. Just overjoyed to be here, happy to be here. I joke with people that, but it's really not a joke in a way, that when people have asked me what's my greatest talent, is I tell them I pick really good partners. And I say that jokingly, but it's really, I think, true. I've just really, really proud and pleased to partner with the founder, Wendy Burton at World Tree, and Kathy Key, one of the other key persons who's been here for a while, and really happy with what we get to do and what we get to provide for the world and for our communities.
That's awesome. That's really great. What did you do prior to becoming World Tree CEO?
You know what? I spent most of my career in the private sector as a CEO. My last company was as the CEO of a reference pathology laboratory. So, things like skin biopsies and things like that. It was another situation where I chose a great partner, a brilliant doctor by the name of David Bullock. But we had a successful exit and sold that company a dozen years ago. Since that time, I've been a city manager and CEO of a large county, Salt Lake County. And so really for the last 12 or 14 years was managing cities and counties. And then I met Wendy and Kathy and fell in love. Love at first sight, I think, would be the way to call that.
And what did you fall in love with? Was it what World Tree is up to, or the tree, or like what was it for you that was just like,
listen, I think any business, organization, anything, yes, you have results to produce and things to do and missions and all of those things, but at the end of the day, it still comes down to people. It's always about people. And so for World Tree, it's just a really unique group of people. This tribe, they're me and I'm them, and we fit together. So the people was the first thing, meeting Wendy and Kathy and other key people in the company. It was just a great fit. And then the other thing that I have to admit, I'd become a little, really the last year or two in government and leadership roles there, I'd become a little disillusioned with, is that I cared deeply about the climate and the environment. And I saw climate change as really one of the preeminent challenges of our time. And I'm a really optimistic person, and I still am, and yet I saw that government wasn't doing it. Government was not providing the solution, and still aren't. And yet who I saw out there, and I saw the possibility that could really lead the way, was private companies and corporations. And I think people have seen over the last year, Microsoft and Nike and JetBlue and, just company after company leading the way on climate change that I think is really enlivening to all of us. And so for me, that was the second part. After the match with the people, it was the mission and what World Tree was about, and being able to really make an impact. Because it's this marrying of profit and purpose that I think really can make a real difference. And then the final thing, coming back to the people again, it was being able to make a difference with farmers and farming communities that were hurting, that were challenged, we were giving some a new way to take care of their families, take care of their communities, and to be able to build wealth for the next generation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You're a little ahead of me in where we're going to go with this conversation.
Well, I'll do whatever you tell me to do. That's what CEOs do,
It's perfect. You're reading my mind. So you've kind of covered a couple of the things I was going to ask you. And what, if you were to think right now, what is happening within World Tree that excites you the most?
Yeah. First of all, we're growing really rapidly. We're the largest grower of Paulownia trees in North America. And, we're almost tripling the amount of acreage we have under management this year. And next year could even be far more than that. So I'm excited about that, but I think I'm excited about our leadership in the science area. We not only lead in acreage planted, but in the science behind what's the best way to to grow this tree? What's the best way to regenerate the soil with this? What's the, we're doing a lot of research on carbon sequestration right now, because I think there's a lot of preliminary research about the Paulownia tree, about how much carbon it sequesters. It's kind of the best, we haven't invented anything better than nature yet as far as sequestering carbon. It's like soil, trees, kelp, those are all still the best carbon capture technologies out there. So I'm excited about our leadership in that area, the science behind it, the people, the research that we're investing into, the partnerships, and all of those things.
Very good. And I know there's something very interesting happening right now with World Tree and how we're in our new offer. It's our current offering, but something we're now offering to people very recently.
Yeah, so World Tree, we grow and expand really in two ways. One is through large partnerships with institutions who fund large acreages. We have more than 100,000 acres that we're planning right now with large institutional partners. That's banks, family offices, large investors. So that's one way that we grow. We're excited about that. We're really passionate about it, the difference we can make. The other way, though, and it's really, you could kind of say this is where our soul is, because it's with small farmers and small investors. As we offer opportunities for small investors to invest in an offering that we've qualified through the SEC, they can go to wefunder.com/worldtree right now, and you could invest in an acre of trees or a half acre of trees, help offset your carbon footprint, and then you get a return 10 years later as the trees are harvested. And so the unique thing right now, we've actually cut the minimum investment for our small investors to $1,250 an acre. It was $2,500. And that's for a short period of time. It will probably last another week or two until we've reached the $1 million cap on that. So we're excited about that. And I say this is where our soul is, because this is where we work with small farmers, usually 10, 20, 30 acres, who plant our trees, who are partners with us. It's not very often that investors get to invest in something that actually helps offset their carbon footprint. And it's actually an investment. It's not a donation, it's an investment. And that you can actually then get a return on as the trees are harvested and turned into valuable, finished lumber 10 years from now.
And so just to be clear, so we're running a special on our offer right now that's $1,250 for half an acre to invest.
I should have you talk about that. You do that so well, Carrie. Yeah, so that's what it is. It's the minimum is $1,250. It will pay for a half acre of trees, and that will, for the average person, that would probably offset their carbon footprint for them and their partner over the next 10 years, something like that, as well as then produce a healthy return 10 years from now. And all of those details people can see in the offering document and the data that's at wefunder.com, and be able to choose to invest that way.
Right. And I think for me, as someone who would be considered very naive to the investment front, this is somewhere to start.
Yeah.
Because if it's something, especially given where we're at in the world, looking for somewhere to diversify your funds or how to set yourself up for the future.
Yeah.
This is somewhere that I could look at where it's not as fluctuating or connected to the stock market.
Yeah, it's definitely, first of all, one of the good things is it's a 10-year investment. It's not a 1 or 2 year, like, oh, when you need, if you want to cash it out to go buy a car or whatever, you can't do that. So it's a good thing in the sense that you hold it for 10 years. It's diversified. Not many smaller investors can invest in timber, which have typically had a more stable return and higher returns than the S&P 500 has over the last 70 years. So usually investments in timber are very large minimums, meaning 100,000, 200,000, in this case 1,250. So we look at it as great to diversify and it's great to contribute. And we have a lot of parents that buy them for their kids, or grandparents buy them for their grandkids, or people invest just for themselves because of like you say, the diversification and the positive nature of the investment.
Yes, and I know I've spoken to several parents, grandparents, and mothers, fathers, people that they just want to do something that not only will benefit their children or their grandchildren, but actually benefits the planet.
Yeah, yeah. And, the interesting thing is, I remember, and this may get us off track a little bit, talking to a group of fund managers, large investors in New York City last December. And as I was presenting to them about, what World Tree does and what we actually are, that we plant the fastest growing tree in the world. And it grows to almost full maturity within 10 years, 60 to 80 feet tall. And then we harvest it and then it regrows. And it took them a while to sort of get their arms around this idea, because for most people, all of us know we could go donate money to great tree programs that plant trees, that reforest the rainforest, that prevent deforestation. All of those are great investments. All of them are great, but they're donations. They're donations. They're not truly an investment. So it took a while for this group of large fund managers to realize that, okay, this isn't just donating money to trees. This is an actual investment. And we do two things: not only consume massive amounts of carbon in the growth of the tree, then as the tree is harvested and then becomes part of a surfboard or a guitar or cabinets or whatever, the carbon is sequestered. So it's the best kind of carbon sequestration going. And we had a large international bank that we're working with now on designing a project in Latin America, who said to us after then, said, our clients come to us, our corporate clients come to us and say, don't you have anything for us to invest in that sequesters carbon? I mean, there's all this carbon up in the air that we need to draw down. And so this is really the first thing that we could present to them that was a viable investment that sequestered carbon, and it's nature's best. It's trees, but it's an investment in trees. Then the final thing we do, we think we're a real believer in farming trees in this way, because we reduce pressures to need to log old growth forests, rainforests, things like that. We think all those trees should be left alone, left to grow. And that one of the ways you reduce the pressure on our old growth forests, I mean, I think we've got a pitch, a soccer field of rainforest being demolished every 6 seconds in the world. It's terrible. And we think, operations like ours helps remove the pressure, the need to do that.
Yeah, I think the last thing I read on it was something like 42 football fields per minute.
Yeah.
And it just keeps increasing because our usage of wood in general is increasing all the time.
Yeah.
So yes, that's one of my most favorite things about World Tree is that the Paulownia tree itself regrows and is a sustainable plant all in and of itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have a couple questions. Matthew Pierce asks, how many small farmers work with World Tree in the United States?
Yeah, we have over 150 small farmers right now in the United States.
Fantastic. And then he asked, and I don't know if you know this off the top of your head, what percentage of the tree production actually happens in the United States?
It's about, these are going to be rough percentages, about 40% in the United States, and then about 40% in Guatemala and Costa Rica, and about 20% in Mexico, as of right now. Yeah.
Great.
If you looked at how many acres we had planted, that's about how the breakdown will end up.
That's good. I didn't even know that. So that's good. That's a really good question, Matt. He also asked, when will the first large harvest of trees occur?
2025 for us will be the first large harvest we do. We're currently out there actually purchasing and harvesting, milling, and selling lumber from small independent harvests. For example, and there'll be some stories out there about one that we did last year. I mean, the visionary that he is, President Jimmy Carter, 15 years or so ago, took some acreage of his peanut farm and planted them in Paulownia trees because he'd heard how great the tree was as far as regenerating soil and sequestering carbon. But then the trees grew to maturity, didn't really know what he should do with them. He got introduced to us, and we harvested his 15 acres last year and dried and milled, and currently working with several sources on selling that. So we do that with small independent farmers like that now. We'll continue to do that over the next 4 years until our first large plantings are ready for harvest.
Awesome. Perfect. That was a better answer than what I was going to give.
The other thing I'd say, I think, and I'm not going to really give it away, we have some really neat things that some people have done with President Carter's wood to hopefully have it live on forever. That we'll be rolling out with, I think, some artists and artisans and things like that we're really excited. It's just a contribution from us, and I know from others, many others have contributed as well.
Yeah.
And for us, it's all about honoring him and who he's been for humanity for the last 50 years.
Yes, he's been an advocate from the very beginning.
Yeah.
For climate change and for the betterment of the planet.
Yeah, one thing I didn't know until we actually agreed with him to harvest his trees, he'd also taken some of his acreage, and I have to admit, I don't know how big it is. I should find out, but acres and acres of solar panels down next to where his trees were planted, generating electricity for Plains, Georgia, that President Carter installed, which is just, anyway, just amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. He's always up to something amazing.
Yes, he is.
He's 95 years old and still looking
Yeah.
for ways to make a difference.
Yeah.
Just want to give a quick little shout out. I see Yvette has joined us, Kevin's joined us. So has Leo and Matt Pierce, Matt Rhodes. So we have some great people on here, and thank you for joining us. And yes, the thing happening with President Carter is very cool. We just had someone say that, which is great. Okay, so initially, one of the things we were going to talk about, and I still want to definitely mention it, is what the 3 Ps of Paulownia are.
Mm-hmm.
And so what is I know you're going to be doing a more in-depth webinar next week on the 17th. So if anyone watching, we're going to briefly talk about the 3 Ps of Paulownia, but on the 17th, Doug will be going into a much deeper dive into what those 3 Ps are, and how they impact each and every one of us. But what's the first one?
So the 3 Ps, I'll say them all together, Carrie. It's people, planet, and profit. And for us, it really means, and it's like I spoke about, one of the reasons I was really attracted to World Tree is I truly believe that capitalism can lead the way to a climate change solution. In fact, I'd say I think it has to. And I think we have to show ways that people can produce profit and take care of people and the planet at the same time. So they're not mutually exclusive ideas or issues, that we can do it all together. And one of the great things about World Tree is we produce a profit. We're in business to make a profit for us and for our investors. At the same time, we also take care of people, farmers, especially farmers in impoverished communities in Costa Rica or Guatemala, or areas in the Southeast that are looking to build more income and more wealth. And then we take care of the planet, not just in carbon sequestration, but these trees regenerate the soil that they grow in. They're good for the soil. They're great for intercropping. So we have a lot of our farmers in Costa Rica and Guatemala intercrop with cacao and with coffee. We have more doing that in the United States. They're really great for honeybees, produce just enormous amounts of honey given the large blossoms that we have. And we're really trying to work with more of our farmers to build a honey operation on their farm to take advantage of that. And so it really does. That's our belief is that more and more companies can actually build on the 3 Ps and build a mission around people, planet, and profit, and take care of all 3. And we think that's the new, that's the future of capitalism, is doing that and being able to take care of that. I'll certainly speak to that more in depth next week and actually get into some of the details about it, about how World Tree really builds itself around a mission to take care of all 3 of those. But that's it in a nutshell.
Yes, that's really great. And so if you're just joining us, I just want to remind you who we're with. We are speaking with Doug Willmore, who is the CEO of World Tree. And we've been talking about the massive difference that World Tree makes for the world, and specifically the 3 Ps of Paulownia, which is people, planet, and profits, and how World Tree and the ecotree program hit all 3 of those major important things in life in general. And Doug's been talking about his history in the private sector and how he's moved over, and just what an opportunity that WorldTree is for new investors, for farmers, and really for anybody who is looking for a way to make a difference in the world. And thank you for joining us. If you're here, make sure you give us a shout out, let us know you're here. And if you have any questions, pop them into the comments. We will be getting back to everybody. And if it's not on the Zoom, if it's not on this live, it will be after. Doug, I want to ask you something about, I know Kathy's talked about this before, but I definitely want to ask you, what sets WorldTree apart from, and you briefly talked about this before with people that donate to tree planting organizations, what sets WorldTree apart from other nonprofits and some of those other programs?
Yeah, so, you know, and I'm proud to say, and I really had to explain to, you know, that group of investment managers that I was speaking to in New York City, I'm proud to say that we're a profit-driven company. We're built around that. We're built around producing a return for our investors, a good return. That's a key part of our mission. And so that alone is very, very different from a nonprofit. And it's not to say that I could tell people, if people asked me, where should I donate money to benefit climate change or the environment, I could give them a great list of a bunch of nonprofits to do that, and feel free to email me and I'll do it. Because there's all sorts of great organizations that need your help. But for us, we do produce a return for our investors, for our farmers, and we think that's a key part of our mission. That when Wendy Burton founded this company, she had the vision a long time ago that it was important to show people that you could make a profit while also doing good. And I really believe that. I mean, I was in government and I saw that government was not the cavalry coming to save us. And I believe in the positive that they could do. But when it came to the climate, it wasn't happening. And I saw more happening in the private sector and more potential there. And so I think that's one of the key distinctions that I'd say that differentiates us from a nonprofit, is that it's a significant part for us to produce a return, and we think it's an important part for the world, that people see that they can make a living, that they can build wealth for their family, for their children, while doing good for the world and for their community.
Yes, very good. Yes. How do people go about participating in the WorldTree program?
Again, for small investors, wefunder.com/WorldTree. You can go on there and read all about it. It's a $12.50 minimum investment up until we hit the $1 million, which will be in a week or so. And it's a great opportunity for any small investor who wants to invest in themselves, their climate, their community, to diversify for whatever reason. And if you're a large fund manager of over $1 million, then you can talk to us about that also. We're dealing with a bunch of them, and we're working on lots of larger investments and projects with larger investors and fund managers and banks and so on. But that's probably not for folks here. But if you are, you know where to reach us.
You never know.
You never know. Yeah.
All right. So Doug, so I just want to reiterate again, in case people are just joining us, WorldTree is running a special on the offer until we reach the $1 million mark. which is about 47 acres remaining, where you can get started and get invested for $1,250, $1,250 for half an acre. And you can, correct me if I'm incorrect, you can, an individual can purchase up to 10 acres. Or no, I'm sorry, $10,000, correct?
You could do as much as you wanted. You could do more than that. We've had an individual do $1 million.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, so you could do as much as you wanted to, but the key thing here is we lowered the minimum to $1,250 until we reached the $1 million cap. And like I say, that'll probably last for the next week or so, maybe 2 weeks until the 40 acres are sold out, 43 or 7, whatever it is as of right now. And then it'll go back to actually at that point, it'll be a $3,000 minimum. So
Perfect.
we're proud of the fact that it's one of the few timber investments that a small investor can make. And we're proud that it makes such a difference, I think, in the communities we're in, as well as because of the small farmers we work with, as well as the contribution to the environment that we make. And we like all three, and all three are really important to us.
Awesome. Doug, thank you. We're going to go into a little part of the lives that I like to do, which is I dug out some images of you.
Oh,
and
no.
just so people don't know that it's scripted and that it really is like off the cuff. And we like people to really get to know the people of World Tree. And so your wife, Annette, was kind enough to send me some great images. And I found some as well. So here are, I'm gonna show you one first. And since I already brought her up, I think it's a perfect place to start is sharing who this person is.
Yeah. That's my, that's the love of my life, my wife, Annette. She's Australian, so that's us in Australia. Last winter, we were there for Christmas. My family, her family had just a wonderful Christmas in Brisbane, where our brother lives. And this is actually down near Melbourne. It's called the 12 Apostles, but there's actually only 8 apostles left, I think. So the apostles are what they call the stone formations in the water, but over time, 4 of them have been washed out. But yeah, those were great times. And she, for those who, I mean, at some point, hopefully the world will get back to where we can travel safely again. For those who haven't had the opportunity to go to Australia, I just really recommend it. Truly some of the most joyous, wonderful people on the planet. Friendly. I just couldn't imagine any place friendlier than Australia. And I certainly got the cream of the crop there. I married way up, let's put it that way. Yeah.
That's wonderful. And I've met Annette and she is lovely. All right. What about this? Oh, hold on. Let me share this next image. This one is just so fun.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, it's pretty obvious what's happening here.
Well, that came from Annette too, I'm sure. So she gave me, she's a daredevil and a risk taker, and she gave me for my birthday a present that you have to use the present you get. Skydiving, a skydiving trip for my birthday. So that was probably 2 years ago, I think. Let's see, probably 2 years ago. She and I and our daughter Katie went skydiving above Camarillo in California. We live in Los Angeles, so wow. And I have to say that was it was a thrill for sure. I
I
don't know if I'd
definitely,
do it again, but it was well worth doing. Yeah.
I was gonna say, it's something I've always wanted to do, and I just haven't gotten that
Well,
opportunity.
I'd recommend it. That's you know, the thing that I'd say, you could see everybody had their own experience. The first timers, you could see people in the plane going up really nervous, and I have to admit I was pretty calm until it gets your turn and you walk back and you're there with an instructor, a tandem, and you go up to the door and you're looking out, and it's at that point that it struck you like, holy cow, I'm gonna jump out of this window, this door. That's kind of when it really hit me. Yeah.
Still debating whether you're still gonna do it. You're like, wait, the door's open, now I have to.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Oh, that's so great. And let's go a couple more. Give me just a second. So let's, this one's super fun, I think. Also, not as fun as skydiving, but I just want to get the story on it.
Uh,
So,
I have no idea what I'm doing there, but that's, you know, that's at a farm, one of our really great farmers, Jason Humphreys in Alabama, and those trees are less than a year old. So you see how fast they grow. And again, I wish I had a story to tell you about that, but I don't. I was just clearly, that's good. I don't, well, let's put it this way. I don't have a modeling career to fall back on. So we're very clear about that. Um, so
oh,
just cutting up for the camera, I guess.
that's great.
Yeah.
But I do like all these trees too. The Humphreys have a really beautiful farm.
Yeah. So really, you know, they are just truly a wonderful family, great partners, great farmer. He's not a farmer by trade. He's a fireman. Um, but this is for his family, a sideline that they took on to generate, you know, income for themselves and their community, and are really great partners for us.
Yes, his wife,
Yeah.
I believe Amanda, is,
Yeah,
she follows us pretty closely, and I just want you to know, Amanda, if you're watching, and definitely appreciate your support.
for sure. Yeah.
And let's see
And
here.
by the way, his son um, was also part of the team that did the harvest of President Carter's Paulownia farm. So it's just kind of an interesting serendipity kind of thing there. Yeah.
That's so great. I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
All right, how about this one? Doug, can you tell us a little bit about what's happening
Oh,
here?
yeah. So, you know, that is, so the guy on the far left of the picture, Luis, is our grower and representative in Mexico. We are planting in Mexico this year for the first time ever. And for the other folks in the middle, there are monks at a monastery in central Mexico, and they grow their own coffee and cacao and corn and all sorts of other things. They have 600 acres there.
Wow.
They do free programs for at-risk youth at this monastery. It's a beautiful old building and property that they have, and they're taking on growing our trees and partnering with us to generate revenue to do more at-risk programs for youth. That's where the money's going to go, is into those programs. And they are, um, boy, I showed up there and they had a feast ready that they'd prepared that was just out of this world. It was amazing, and just very, very generous, warm-hearted, um, lovely people, and proud to have them as World Tree partners and farmers.
That's really great. I didn't even know that whole story.
Yeah. The guy right in the middle in the jean shirt and the shaded glasses, that's Will Schumann, who's our chief forestry consultant. And Will has 20 years of experience in Paulownia, large scale, small scale, all over the world, and Brazil and Africa, and has been a great help to us and the growing the science of our business. And so he was on that trip with us.
Oh,
Yeah.
so great. All right. I think we're good with the sharing.
Good.
Little bit. Those are good stories. Really, really great. I have a little tear in my eye. My eyes start watering and thinking about that monastery is doing that for
they're
the benefit of their
truly,
community.
truly amazing. I know we want to get down there and do some filming of them and to tell their story, because they're the heroes of this story. World Tree is just helping them. They're the heroes, and we have just so many farmers like that when you listen to their story, you hear their story, why they're doing it, what they're doing it, is we kind of have a saying in World Tree that while our beginnings were in Canada, you can find our souls on all the farms and the farmers that we work with. And we're just really, it's one of the most gratifying things about what we do is being able to work with them.
That's great. This has been enlightening and wonderful, and I thank you, Doug, for taking the time and giving all of the people that tune in and the people that watch this after an opportunity to get a little glimpse into the person who's heading up the mission and the goals for World Tree to really make the difference and really make a lasting difference in the world. And I know for myself, it's a real joy and honor to get to work with World Tree. And for anyone just tuning in, or just as a reminder, Doug is going to be doing another webinar, an actual real deep dive webinar on Wednesday the 17th, where he's going to talk about more in depth the 3 P's of Paulownia, which is people, planet, and profits. And in the meantime, World Tree is offering a special price to get involved in the Eco-Tree program at $1,250 to invest in an acre of these trees that go to the farmers in the Eco-Tree program. And then you're involved in the program and you get a return and you get to make a difference in the world, offset your carbon, and all the wonderful, wonderful things that the Paulownia Empress Tree does. Doug, is there anything else you'd like to say?
Yeah, no, thank you very much. I thank for anyone who tuned in and listened. My dad always told me, don't say much about yourself. They'll say plenty about you when you're gone. So I've said far too much about myself, but I really appreciate all the support we get from farmers, investors, fans. We really appreciate it. We take your support very seriously. And if there's any questions we can answer afterwards, feel free to send them in and we'll definitely get information out to you.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.
Great. Thank you.